All right, everyone. You may have seen the hilarious news the other day. Of course, the Midwest was experiencing sub-zero temperatures, and EVs don't do well in sub-zero temperatures. The battery does not hold charge properly. Charging stations get overwhelmed, therefore, there aren't enough of them. And so electric vehicles basically are a scam, a complete scam. EVs just don't function under enough circumstances to be useful to the average person. When they talk about how, well, the share of EVs over the last decade has risen dramatically, that's true, absolutely. And they have gotten better. The problem is they're mainly relegated to urban areas. So if you're in a city and you only have to drive 30 miles in a day anyway, having a car that can only go 200 miles on a charge, then getting home and plugging it in at night, well, that could be sensible. The break even for your vehicle maybe doesn't make sense, because if you ever have to get that battery replaced outside of its warranty period, you're fucked. You pay a five-figure sum for it. You pay almost as much as getting a decent used car with a gasoline engine. EVs can be cheaper depending on the electrical price and the price of gas, but it's not always certain. Maintenance is more difficult. Self-maintenance is impossible in many cases. It's all very proprietary. It's basically like they're trying to Appleize your car. They've even got scams now where the functions of the car, you have to pay like a monthly fee for them to work, or they automatically turn themselves on like seat warmers or something like that. Things that used to be just sometimes added to the car as a luxury and wasn't proprietary, and could be repaired, removed, replaced, etc., are now effectively hardwired into the car itself, and you have to pay a monthly fee in order to actually use them. They're trying to squeeze more money out of the consumer. EVs and the companies that are mainly producing them are forefront on the scam side. Other than Tesla, I will give Elon Musk credit where credit is due. His model for Tesla is superior to other EV companies or companies that produce EVs. That being said, they are still very expensive. These are effectively toys for the wealthy. It does not make sense to pay $50,000, $60,000 for a vehicle that won't even work on a cold day, or will work less good on a cold day. You've had situations, you had, I can't remember, I think it was Minneapolis a few weeks ago, I reported on their electric bus fleet. They could only run a bus for a fucking hour before it had to spend several hours charging because it was so cold the batteries weren't holding their energy. So EVs, they don't work if you're in a rural area, or not necessarily well, unless you're off the grid. You know, you've got a bunch of solar panels and a generator and shit like that. Okay, maybe you can make it cost effective. I just don't see the point when you can always have some fuel on hand and get a much cheaper gasoline or diesel powered car. They don't work for people in particularly cold climates, so I don't expect EVs to replace fossil fuel here in Vermont. Effectively, they're nothing more than a novelty for upper middle class liberals to brag about. Well, here's my Tesla. Oh, you got a Tesla? Elon Musk is a Nazi. Oh shit, let me switch it out for a Volt or something like that. The toys. If you're in an urban area, in a reasonable climate, yeah, an EV might be worth your while. Nobody else has any reason to. It's like in the Netherlands, you'll see quite a few more EVs, and also a lot more like buses and shit, and bikes and shit like that, certainly than you see here in Rutland. But that's because it's a super flat with high population density and a relatively mild climate. You don't get sub-zero days in that particular coastal region. You get cold, but it's not as cold. There are more charging stations because it's easier to set them up in such a situation where most of the country is urban. Even out in the so-called hinterlands of Friesland, because it's super flat, it's easier, you can see the next town from the town that you're in if you're on the second story. In fact, you can see half the goddamn Netherlands from a 10-story building. In fact, in the middle of the country, if you were on a good tower on a clear day, which there never is, you could probably see the whole country. And in Germany and France, Germany and Belgium as well, right in the middle, you probably could. You could see all the way to the coastal islands. But EVs work there because it's more dense, it's more compact, you have shorter distances to travel, you have milder weather. So EVs might work for, say, somebody who's living in the lowlands of South Carolina. In a town or a city. It's perfectly fine. Maybe it even pays off for itself for the novelty after 10, 15 years. By the way, the ones with larger ranged engines, it takes increasingly long for them to pay for themselves, and that's assuming the price of electricity remains comparable to the price of gasoline at its current rate. If gas prices go down, or energy prices in general go up, it's a losing proposition. You're never going to get back your investment on that vehicle as compared with something that used a liquid fuel. Simply not feasible. I don't see a whole lot of electric vehicles in this climate. I wonder why. Is it because for 3-4 months out of the year it remains at or below freezing? Is it because EVs aren't going to perform as well when you've got a foot of snow? That could possibly be the reason. So like I'm thinking like the best car for here, for this climate, would be like a Jeep. A nice powerful Jeep or something like that. You know, with a four-wheel drive and everything like that, you'll still be able to make it through the snow. Like right now there's about a half a foot on the ground. If I had an EV, I mean, the other thing is you definitely want a heated garage. You don't have to run a heater next to it, I suppose, in order to thaw out the battery to get it to actually start in the first place. Plus, you're giving lots of money to China for all that lithium. The Chinese government thanks you for buying electric. That's about all. Peace out.